Okay, good afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is well. It is the 1st of October. Unbelievable how quick this year's gone. Unbelievable. It does not seem 5 minutes ago since we were talking about Christmas, the Christmas break. Another year almost gone. 2 months will be into December. Unbelievable. Okay, so far today we've started off clearly in the range. Now, I took a trade. I have started swing trading my funded futures account overnight. I'm trying to work out where I think prices are go, and I'm going for, well, you can only trade one contract on my funded futures on the PA during the first $1,000. So this is the I got a quick, $930 it was. I actually went long here. We had this big sort of uptrend and a break, and it looked like we were going to push up. There was some liquidity here, so I often see that. Market opens bearish, some traders may jump in and the thing turns. So I went here and I went for, I think, above here somewhere, which was that final nail in the coffin. And I got just under $1,000. So it's worked out okay there. So that account now is up to $2,000. So all being well, later this week, I might be able to withdraw something from that. It'd be nice to see what the pay, how quick the pay is from my funded futures. And I'll let you guys know. Jan, how you doing, buddy? So I can't really trade this today. I think the most I've got is about $1,050, but they've got the 40% rule. So I want to try and get that to about another another $600, and then take a withdrawal out of this, and just to see what the withdrawal process is like. So market is open. It's been open for about just over a minute. We have got some news coming up. Jolt's job openings and ISM manufacturing, and also a little bit of medium impact news at the same time. So I have noticed the last couple of times the medium impact news sometimes is playing more of a part than I realised. Or that I've noticed. I've just got that up here just because this is an area we've bounced off. So if we do get up here again, it'll give me an idea of where we're going. So I won't be trading this today. In fact, let's switch that off, because what I don't want to do is make a full day's money on there. But I've been relatively successful doing that. Work out where I think price is going based on what I'm seeing at the end of the day. See how the market opens. Check it doesn't gap up or down. Obviously, if there's any type of news overnight, it may gap up or down. So I'll let it the first couple of bars and then work out where I think's going, and that worked beautifully. So Apex, they've extended it. Well, I think I've put to the 9th. I think they've extended it for 8 days. That seems to be, I think that's the 3rd time in a row they've done that. So it would be nice to get the 90% off again, but every time we've had 90% off, well, certainly the last 3 or 4 times, they've had problems with Rhythmic, and so far, touch wood, we've had no issues lately that I'm aware of with Rhythmic, which is good news, because trading stressful it is without having to worry about your software breaking down. So fingers crossed. My for the future's disconnected yet. So look, Speedy, how you doing, buddy? Ryan, how are you, mate? Let's have a look. What a sell-off. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's dropped 5, 10, 15, 20 points pretty quickly in what, about the first 3 minutes, something like that? Yeah. Well, we had this reasonable push up and we bounced. I am paying attention to these because I think they can be important at times. We bounced off here once, bounced off here. We've bounced off that there and there, and now we're coming back. So I think these areas, a lot of traders will trade these areas of interest or support and demand, supply and demand, or whatever they call them. There's a bunch of different ways that they call them, but it has. So I think it's important to just be aware of that, because if you do get something very bearish there, you may be able to pick up a reasonable trade there and possibly a runner. So we went up once, we went up a second time, and we just about crept. In fact, I mean, well, it depends how you draw it, but we just literally nicked it again and had a turn. So we'll see. So we may get some. Let's have a look. Well, it's hard to say, isn't it? We come down, we go up, we come down. So we may get some downward stuff today. Is certainly possible. That lag's unusually high for me. Obviously, market's open, so it's pushing down. So there's quite a bit of volume coming in. Let me just have a quick look on the daily, see what's where it's been, where it's going. Okay, we are sitting around this area here. This is the daily, as we know. 2 really big pushes up, a strong pullback and 2 legs up, but we seem to be going a bit sideways here. So up, down, up, down. So that bar there has been triggered. Well, if you trade it like that, but we could come down and break below there. So it's hard to know really. But we're going sideways at the moment. But sideways on here, it's kind of irrelevant to a degree on here. As we see that bar there, we've just dropped about 30 points here. So a little bar like that doesn't really tell us a great deal. But we are going sideways, so that makes sense because we're sort of ranging really, aren't we, at the moment? Down, up, and then this is down. So 25 points off. No, yeah, it's more than that now, isn't it? What are we? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 points, basically. Trouble is, you'd never have guessed that. You couldn't. I mean, there was a failure there, but would you want to go short into this? It's hard to say, really. You tend to never know it's going to do that, really. I don't think there's any kind of warning signs. And once it goes out the bottom here, you've got to leave it because it may come back in. And then once it starts to go, you kind of sort of missed it, really, aren't you? So, now Thomas Wade, in fact, there's a few have got a wider channel there. Now, we have had a break of it and we're continuing down, so I'd say that. In fact, some traders got it from there to there. Now, it certainly could be. But until we get sort of up to here, I'm a bit inclined just to let me have a look. Thomas has got it like that. And it's the pricey. There he is, he's got it like that as well. So it certainly could be. Let's see if it bounces here. We have had a little bounce. So yeah, I mean, there's a strong possibility we could. You could look at this like that, I think. I don't think there's major issues with it. Just see what happens here, really. But this thing is taking a bit of a drop, isn't it? So I'm going to get rid of that for a minute, I think. So I kind of like that as a channel with a break and a push down to a new low. So where could we get down here? Well, if you can get into a trade like that, 10, 20, 30, that's about best part of 40 points there straight down. And if you can time that. Well, it's not about timing it, isn't it, really? I think it's kind of irrelevant to a degree. So there is some support around about this area now, and that is the sort of, well, would you call that the weekly low? I don't think it's far off it, is it? Where are we now? Tuesday, so Monday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. So yeah, that's last Tuesday. I think it's the low of last Tuesday. So let's just extend that over just below yesterday's low. So that is certainly an area we could come down to. Well, I mean, this news could change things, couldn't it? Blue collar, how you doing, mate? Either way, overshoot break, yeah. Anybody look at that trade I took yesterday? I know someone asked me in the stream, did Thomas Wade take it? He did, actually. He videoed it, fortunately enough. So I like it. That's what I like about Thomas Wade, is he's got no qualms about showing you his losing trades, and I like that in a trader, because sometimes you see some of these traders and they're almost invincible. They'll never show you a losing trade, and I think that sort of shows an important side about who they are. There's nothing wrong with, admitting or showing that you've lost a trade. In fact, I think it shows your strengths, So it was nice that he did that. And it was a pretty good looking trade. I still say now, I think there was a possibility of a small overshoot, and that may have, someone messaged me on the, I did open the messages back open on the YouTube on this YouTube channel, and someone said a pivot point. Well, it's all good and well, but I don't use pivot points in my trading. So, but whether it had anything to do with that, I don't know. So many people trade so many different ways, and I don't know if it's to do with your strategy. It may be relevant, and if it isn't, the opposite. So it's one of those things, isn't it? Mac actually marked the second entry long, but it was a bit vague on the higher low. He said it had gone a bit too far. In fact, let's get it in quickly. He said it had gone a bit too far. Well, it hadn't really. It was here, wasn't it? So if that is a channel, Mac's saying that he thinks it's gone too far. Now, realistically, we had a break of a channel. You'd expect to get to the tops, wouldn't you? So if you took that one, you've still got 2.5 points, maybe a bit more, 2.75 points to the highs. There's plenty of room for a scalp. So Matt was a bit vague on that. He didn't talk too much detail on that, did he? He just left it. And I actually think if that's a genuine break, he did mention 2 legs down, which is what I thought it was. A couple like Thomas and a few others had it in one channel. For me, it was more like a leg and a leg. But, Max sort of taught us, if you're not sure about that one, wait for the higher low. The higher low trapped some shorts, probably some there. So you would think, certainly for a scalp, there wouldn't be no issues with that. But I'm surprised he didn't mention it. It would have been nice for him to sort of mention why that may not have worked, because you'd look at it and you would think there's going to be some traders taking that. And as it happens, I think it was quite a few of us. So we got a channel down there with a break. There may have been a break here, but it continued down, so I extended it. We've had a break here, 2 pushes down, 2 no, and we are going sideways now, so we could be having a bounce here. We are, let's have a look. Yeah, it's hard to say really, that's such a big move. But Thomas has still got it as a bigger channel. Let's have a look, see how it looks now. Yeah, see, he's got it nearly touching. Doesn't quite work that way on mine. Yeah, the trouble is, if you do extend that to, and I'm not saying it's not, but if you do, you're naturally looking for shorts here, and that may not be the case. We've had 1, 2 attempts to push higher, so I'm just not sure at the moment. Now, I have opened up my trading now for 2 losses. As long as I take what I believe to be a good trade, it does not seem to affect me. It's if I, take something a little bit over risky that I know I shouldn't have done. It was just one of the 10%. Yeah, sometimes they don't work. I will say this, it's very rare they don't. And the trades that I thought, that's a good trade and it hasn't worked, there's usually a good reason, and I can usually work out the reason. You know, as you get experience, you get better at realising actually what likely went wrong. And I just didn't see a great deal of information from Mac about that. It would have been nice for him to talk a little bit more about it, but the trouble is with Mac, he's an experienced trader. He may just look at that and think no. So it's hard to get into someone's head, really. It worked for, yeah. I mean, if you got in right on the nail, you'd have got a scalp out of it. But something wasn't right there, was it? Clearly, so I still think there was certainly a good chance of of an overshoot there. If you keep it tight to the bottom of that channel, there is an overshoot. So maybe that had something to do with it. It's one of those things that great context doesn't work. Clear looking trade. Well, the trouble is, I think Mac marks those trades after the fact, and obviously we know in real. So, you know, I mean, I've spoke to him about it before in an email, and he said he only takes 2 to 3 trades a day, and that was a year or so ago. So he might even be less than that. So although he shows those, it's easy to find trades like that after the fact, because you can't unsee the fact that that worked. So if there was a failure here, I'm not saying there is, you can't sort of unsee it. So, if that trade had worked, Matt would have marked it. Absolutely, 100%. I agree. Yeah, I was hoping he'd talk a little bit more about that whole live stream session. Like, that's the problem. That's why you need to show you. Yeah, you do. It's the only sort of way really you get kind of a feel for it, because we haven't got the luxury of knowing what the market's going to do next. We just have to sort of use what experience we've got and make the best judgment call. And but it is a long process, and we all go through it. We're not born great traders, are you? Some people might be born with good traits which help, but I don't believe for a second I'm one of them. I have my struggles, and probably more than most, I think I went for a stage of throwing money at the market, just gambling away, because I just out of pure frustration. And I think after a while, it's like anything, if you bang your head against a wall long enough, you're going to realise it hurts. But some people, it takes a little bit longer to get through. To go and buy, I'll explain. Yeah, I know Mac has to give us a certain amount. That's his job. But yeah, in real time, it is. I would love for Mac to put a trading video out once, and maybe not take trades, or maybe if he gets a trade in early, maybe just video him looking at the market, talking about what price is doing, talking about, yes, I would take that one, or I would leave that one. I think you can take a lot from someone, just something similar to what I do, just talk about what he's seeing and how he's feeling about the way something's setting up. You only need to do it once or twice. But when you are learning from someone, it is nice to try and get in their head and see what makes them tick. Otherwise, there's so much to the imagination. We think he might be an absolute gifted trader who has a 99% win rate, but ultimately you don't know. But I was watching a little bit of Tom Hoggard this morning. He has a live stream this morning. I think he was trading some German indice. But he took a trade and got stopped out. So I think the best traders in the world lose trades. They do. I think sometimes we put them on a pedestal and think the more money they earn, the less trades they lose. And I don't believe it's the case. I think it's if you can take a trade and be disciplined, it doesn't matter whether it wins or loses if you're a good trader. And that's what sort of separates the men from the boys. If you go on tilt, it's not working. It's not going to work. Now, obviously, there'll be an element of that in the early days while you're learning. But I think that the thing that makes the better traders, the better traders are definitely the discipline, because you need to be able to turn away from poor trades or average trades. And then when you lose a trade, the ability to not let it affect them. I think sometimes we do think these great traders make an absolute fortune, and they may well do, and they never lose a trade. But, they're just as vulnerable to the market's swings as we are. But obviously, the longer you've been doing it, that generally you're going to make better decisions. Some more. I learned the more I realise I don't agree with a lot of the trades. Yeah, I don't think he's. I have tried to ask him before, and I don't think he does it that way for any specific reason. I think because he's so experienced, sometimes you tend to forget that, how people perceive what you're talking about. When we look at a trade and we may take it and may make a mistake, he probably looks at that trade and doesn't bat an eyelid at it because it just doesn't even enter his realm, because it's, he can clearly tell. So I think his years of experience compared to ours, and I think sometimes that shows, but he is on about retiring in a year or two, isn't he? It would be nice, just maybe one day a month, just after he's finished trading, just open the charts back up for another hour and talk about what he's seeing. And I want to hear how he, works out what's good and what's not. Because a lot of the trades that I've seen him take, sometimes those signal bars are questionable. But perhaps the signal bar doesn't matter as much as the context. So, it's hard to know until you get in his head, really. And there's this certain element of sort of uncertainty with Mac, how he thinks, because I think he has a certain way of teaching us, and I think it's the right way. And I think the rest you kind of learn as you go on. You can't give some people or newbies too much information. It'll just cabbage the brain. Consistent system longer. I have heard a couple of people say scalpers can't make money over a long period of time, long term. I wouldn't say I'd agree with that, because after scalping for 3.5 years, I know what a good setup is. That's not my problem. My problem is having the discipline to leave an okay trade. And I think that's one of my problems, and I think that's common with less experienced traders. But I think you can make money long term out of scalping. And I also saw another guy saying the bigger the time frame, the easier it is. Now that would make sense to a degree. A lot of our trades and our decisions are taken in the last couple of seconds. So the more you're under pressure to make the right decision, I suppose it's naturally you're going to make more mistakes. If we were trading on each 15-minute bar, I think you'd be able to work things out and let that natural time to process, have a little bit more time to process. But I think you can make money scalping long term. I don't see an issue with it, or whether people slowly change and develop their own way of doing things. People who focus on 90% win rate, yeah, maybe, yeah, micro profits. Listen to every, yeah. I think he's probably torn, because a couple of times I've asked him and he's been disinclined to give me the information, and I'm thinking he's doing it because he thinks so much of it you have to learn yourself. And I think that's probably why he doesn't show us his trades, or a lot of his trades, because he steps out of his own rules. Because when you're experienced and you sit and watch the market, you can do. If you sit here and watch these markets for 25 years, you're naturally going to see other setups, and that's where these strategies come from. They're not sort of handed down to us on tablets, from years gone by. They're just from traders sitting and watching price. It's not my discipline. See, sometimes I have good discipline, and other times, for some reason, I kind of spoil it. And I suppose my only answer is, the longer you've been doing it, generally the better you get. When we're trading now, there is a certain amount of trepidation, isn't there? There's a little bit of nervousness. You get that little excited feeling in your sort of, in the pit of your stomach. But I think over time that probably starts to diminish. Well, it does. The way I feel now when I trade, and when I'm in, some form of a live trade where I've got skin in the game, is completely different from, where I used to be. As I said in the past, I remember distinctively sitting here with an evaluation, feeling like someone had their hands around my neck. I was that tense. Scalpers probably struggle much more than mental aspects of losing trade. Yeah. Because most scalpers risk a lot to make so little. Yeah. So when you need 2+ wins to cut, yeah. It's why I've slowly progressed up to 3 points. I wanted to try and get as close to 1-to-1 as I can. I remember once when I first started, I remember winning 4 trades in a row, just scalping a point, and I was so chuffed with myself. And then I lost one. It just happened to be a bigger bar, and then with commissions, I was in the red. You know, so realistically, scalping for a point without a runner, you probably got to get 80% to kind of break even, which just seems such a big way off. You know, when I was a kind of a newer trader. Sorry if I've missed some of your comments. Let me have a look. Profits 1 to 2 points make things way more difficult for everyone, and mostly psychologically. Yeah. Those who scalp, you can get 1-to-1 on every good trade. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if it's a good trade, I'd say a lot of the trades where mine don't go for reasonable points are probably because they're not great trades. But we all know if you do a really solid trade, you know, if we had a perfect second entry short here, every man and his dog would be jumping on that. And obviously, the more people, the more money, price goes down more. So sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but when I see a really good trade, half the time I just click buy because I don't want to miss it. Because these great trades, if you do miss them, they usually take off like a flipping rocket. So trades like that will make 3 points. So I'd rather take less trades and go for a little bit more profit. But, you know, we're all slightly different. Some people just want the safety and they want that little bit of profit, which I absolutely understand. And other people thinking, well, if I'm sitting here that long, I want to get some money out of it. But I also saw an interview with that Charlie Burton, and he said the great traders, no, was it? It might have not been him actually. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he said the great traders are the ones that when they get into a good trade, milk it for everything it's got. But yeah, everyone's got a slightly different way of doing it. And I had to cut out all the small micro range trades. Most trades in the centre of ranges. He marks in hindsight. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Because yeah. See, this other strategy that I've looked at on and off purely by accident. Whenever you get these, what I consider as a double width channel, kind of a little bit wider than I consider that a single width channel. Wherever you get a bullish bar finishing on its high, if you'd sold that for a 1-to-1 4-point risk, they work so often. So I wouldn't take that one. It's not bullish enough. But if I took that one for 2 points, if you buy at the close of it, 2-point risk, that wouldn't have worked. So that seems a little small. Might be because this thing's flushing down, but that one would have worked. Let me have a look. Tight channel, bullish bar. So if you shorted that bullish bar for 1-to-1, say 8 points risk, 8 points profit, that worked. That one as well would have worked. That one wouldn't quite because we had a bit of a pullback. It might have been a small break that if you keep it to the top. But whenever we get these, whenever we get a bullish bar or the opposite direction, and if you shorted there, often it just crosses over and comes down. And you could do that 1-to-1. And I tend to keep watching that and watching it. And there's days where we don't get a lot. And there are other days where there's sometimes 2 or 3 in an actual move. And it's just a little pullback, really, isn't it? See, there's none there, but it's these sort of double width channels, really, that are a little bit steeper than that. But they work really well. I just haven't kind of had the time yet to focus on them as a way of trading. There, that one worked. So we're coming up now in a little channel. So look. Now, I probably wouldn't have taken that one just yet because we're at a turning point here. But look, see that one there? We're pushing up. Bearish bar. If you buy there, 2-point risk, 2-point profit, you've just made $200 there. But they work really well, they do. But you've got to find a channel like that sort of size. You struggle with the PAT system, and you are the Only honest trader on YouTube doing it. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Sometimes, though, I find sometimes you got to be honest with yourself, don't you? If you're not honest with yourself and you kind of think, blah, 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 blah. I think you've got to be honest with yourself to move forward, really. But I appreciate the comment, mate. Let's have a look. I think you do get more of a trader if you see his bad stuff as well as his good stuff, because I have days where I take a lovely trade. I got the patience of a saint. Oh, news. I got the patience of a saint. I'm glad we had a little conversation here because I forgot about that. Yeah, sometimes I got the patience of a saint, and then other days I seem to do something stupid. And I think impulsive is probably a good word for me. Sometimes with emotions, you get a bit impulsive. I really like that as a trade, actually. Push straight down, push straight up, sat straight on top of that. So even sometimes with this news, price action still kind of works. But no, you've got to be honest with yourself about your failures and about the bits you struggle with. Because I think if you focus more on the bits you're struggling with, it kind of hopefully brings everything together. News. Hey, John, how you doing, mate? I think everything's in one go here, isn't it? 3 o'clock. Yeah, so it's probably not going to do a great deal, I think. Yeah, see, part of the reason I started live streaming is because I found when I was by myself, sometimes I did stupid things. So I thought if people were watching me, I'd be less inclined to do stupid things and take... you've ever seen you're on a sim and you think, I'll have a go at this, I'll have a go at that. Half the time, you're kind of wasting your time to a degree. You'll still learn, but I think it's good to take it seriously, even on a sim. And I thought if I have people watching me, you're under pressure then to kind of not take anything stupid. I have had my meltdowns. Most of you have seen the odd time when I've had a meltdown, but I believe the meltdowns would have been a lot more if I was kind of by myself. So I do like the fact that you've got some, you're under pressure a little bit, aren't you, to do something. You don't want to look stupid, do you, when people are watching you? But that's why I started, really. Well, that's the original reason I started, and then obviously you get to know people. It's nice to, technology still blows my mind, as I can chat to. How did you get? Well, my channel hasn't really grown. I haven't really paid attention to growing a channel, really. You won't really often, in fact, very rarely talk about me saying subscribe or like. That's not what was about. I don't know a lot about YouTubers, but I know if you want to make money from YouTubers, you've got to have hundreds of thousands. So it was never really about that. You'll very rarely see me making a video. I've got something like 450 live streams on here, but not even 2,000 subscribers, because it wasn't really about that. I'm not saying YouTubers don't make money, but I'll be perfectly honest with you. With the viewers I get here, it makes me an average of about 25 British pounds. No, a little bit less than that. About 20 British pounds per month. And they pay it when it gets to £60. So every 3 months I get about £60. So you've got to have a hell of a lot of viewers to make money on YouTube. So that doesn't interest me. I never make videos. The only time I'll make a video sometimes if there's a new discount open, or I can't remember the last video I made. It was months ago. Oh, I made a video about thanking people for using my code. That was probably the last one. And I did make one about my funded futures, I think. Because there were some really good changes on it. But apart from that, and I think to get a lot of people on YouTube, you need to make videos of it. I just sit here and talk a load of rubbish. Well, hopefully not, but so yeah, you've got to be proactive, I think, to grow YouTube, but that doesn't interest. And don't get me wrong, you guys use my code, and that makes me some money as well. that realistically makes me about, I'll be honest with you, around an average of about $1,200 per month. So, excuse me. So that with my wife's wage is just enough for me to stay at home and trade. Well, if you can call 3 hours full time, but and that helps me stay at home and trade. So that it helps me continue to trade sort of full time. And I've made bits from not much. I think I've made about 16 or 18,000 over the last sort of 18, 20 months off payments from accounts. But you know, let me have a look. What I missed. Scalper buys when no one else wants it. That's it. I heard someone saying whenever we get these pullbacks and everyone's panicking and getting out the trade, scalpers jumping back in. And it's the smart traders who are selling here and buying here. And maybe the less experienced ones who are panicking just as the move, kind of goes. But there is a second entry short there. I actually don't think that's... I was going to jump in there.
Order submitted.
I actually don't think that's a bad trade. Too late.
Order cancelled.
So I'm just looking at this. I was just looking at someone's chart there who has that like that. And we've got a break. Whether you consider that right, I don't know. But we've got 2 legs up, 2 legs back. And I like the fact that there's a higher low here and a big bullish bar and it triggers and comes down bearish. So I'm expecting a leg and a leg to break below there. So I missed that one. I ummed and ahed about it because it was slightly above VMA, but I don't think it was a terrible trade. It's actually a second entry short. 2 legs down, 1, 2 legs up. Did anybody else take it? You guys take that? The chart is lagging and the scalper is ahead of the chart, the essence of scalping. Absolutely. That's a shame. That would have worked nice there, but I'm okay with that. Sometimes you got to think about these, haven't you? It's very easy for someone to go in the right way, but I kind of like we got a leg and a leg, a big push up and then a drop. I'll tell you something else I'm seeing. No, wrong one. Let's do it from here because it may something up there, so there may be something wider there. Touch, touch, touch. We can't keep going down this steep forever, so maybe this is slightly wider channel. Just made something change there. So there may be something wider. But we have got some support down here, so I'm just going to take a quick screenshot of that. So there may... nice second entry short. You on about that one? Yeah. The only reason I thought about that is I saw Thomas Wade's chart pop up with the bigger channel. I thought, actually, that doesn't look like a bad break, and it went up 2 legs and came down. So clearly worked. But I had mine like that, and we'd already had a break. So I'm thinking, well, I saw this, and I'm thinking this is going up, and obviously things changed. We've actually just broken below that bar on a daily as well. So we had that bullish bar there on a daily which triggered, and it's just broke below that. So, I mean, this thing could dump Let's have a look. So we've pushed up, made all-time highs there again. Leg and a leg, so we could have a reasonable pullback here. I mean, if there is something like, I don't know, maybe something like that. Sure, but we could. I suppose we could do. So that, I bet some got burned on that failed second entry long term. I'm glad I missed it. Second entry long. Are you all about that one there? Yeah, I've taken trades like that before and lost them. It's trying to identify why something like that wouldn't work. This is a little bit clumped up, isn't it? So we've got a leg and a leg. We've got a leg down and a leg down. So we've kind of already had two legs there, haven't we? A leg and a leg. So we know market moves in two. So leg up, leg down, and then like maybe a bit of a pullback, and then a leg and a leg. So that might be why. But whenever I see these traps, I try and figure out how to recognize them next time round. But yeah, it's weird, isn't it? All those wicks look a bit. Sometimes I find the longer you've been trading, the more something just doesn't look right. It's hard to put your finger on exactly what. That trader lost yesterday. If you look back on it, I actually said there's something I don't like about this, and then I changed my tune about it. I did analyse the rules of Pats with a program. Rule by rule, nothing showed an edge. Yeah, do you know what? I think that's the nature of price action, because I think with price action, it's, you know, sometimes computers can't do a job. Computers are brilliant, but you still need humans to run them. So I think a lot of the times, if it's a second entry short or something like that, that a program might recognize, sometimes you need a human being to sort of put that sort of human factor in and say, something doesn't look right. It's a bit congested. So it's hard to say, really, isn't it? Now, we know we've got algorithms, don't we? But I believe if you have a good algorithm that works really well, it costs an absolute fortune. So that might mean it takes an absolute bloody genius to, not that you're not, of course, it might take an absolute genius to write some sort of an amazing algorithm that could sort of trade successfully. But I don't know, mate. I can't put my finger on why it may show something like that or what. I don't know. But what I will say is I very rarely lose a trade that I can't explain why. Yesterday was one of them to a degree, but when you have a little bit of time to think about it, I think it's the overshoot that naturally stuck out to me as the most likely cause why that trade didn't take. But it's hard to say, really, isn't it? It's hard to say. But I think with experience, I noticed I'm much better at reading price now than I was. I can usually tell now why something didn't work, whereas I couldn't. And I think for the first year and a half, I put my chart on the Facebook group every single day and asked for feedback. You know, why some things wouldn't work. And obviously, with time and experience, you start to realise it. But that's what tells me. And one thing I've come to believe, that price action is so accurate, it's unbelievable. It's that human factor and that slip-on discipline, I think, that makes it harder for ourselves. So if you could completely rule out the psychological side of it, and if you put a gun to my head and say the next trade you take, if it wins, you get to live, I guarantee you I'd win the next trade, because I'd wait for a trade that bloody good. You know, and whenever you see those trades, which we don't often do, you can't click the button fast enough and they just work. It's very rarely they don't. Let's just have a quick look. Your bit. Oh, right, okay. I've had my nice new desk come today. My sit-stand desk I've started putting up earlier, actually. It's bloody solid. The desk I've got now, I've had for 3 years now, and it literally, I put my level on it the other day, and you can stick your finger in the gun to the gap. It's that much got a bend in it. And it was only a cheap one, so I thought it's about time I treat myself to a nice sit-stand desk. And a new monitor arm, so I don't have this thing stuck on my desk. So let's have a look here. What I said. First entry, second entry, third entry. The price is more important than the bar count. Yeah. See, in relation to the EMA makes a difference. It just sometimes it looks slightly congested. But I've listened to so many different ideas of congestion. Some people, I've heard say if you can read it, you can trade it. So I think there's so many variables, and Mac will talk. It takes years, and I absolutely understand why. Because there's so much grey area that only really experience can weed out the bad stuff or the poorer trades. You know what I mean? How did your code? How did you cut? Oh, sorry. I'm going to say you got me now. Keeps on repeating every day. Just see this work most of the time. Got me motivated to learn this style of trading. Yeah. I tell you something now, and I genuinely swear on my daughter's life, price action is so accurate. It's unreal. In fact, it blows my mind how accurate it is. It just works. And the only variable I can say is two things. One, news, which may change. Something may turn the market for some reason, may cause, a couple of large buyers or sellers to sort of back away for some reason. And the trader. They're the only two variables why this doesn't work. But if you put in an very experienced trader with literally very little psychological connection and take away the news, it's so accurate. It's mind-blowing. And I think the only way you really trust in that is by trading it again and again and again. Because the only time, I can tell you now, 19 out of 20 of my trades didn't work because I tried to squeeze a trade instead of letting one come to me naturally. That I thought, it's a little bit congested, let's have a go. It's very easy to do that. And I can tell you now, the more you do it, the more you believe in this thing, which is why I have tried doing other things. But I keep coming back to this because I'm thinking, why waste 3.5 years of studying this? We may get another leg down here. So there was something down here, wasn't there? We've passed that now. Let's have a look. Yeah, it was a bit below that. So let's have a look on that daily. Yeah, so we've got a really big bearish bar here now, and the day's only really just started. So this thing can absolutely proper drop, couldn't it? Yeah, it is, doesn't it? It is insane. Hello, my friend. How are you, Bart? In fairness, I'm on a short vacation, but I couldn't resist the pleasure. How you doing, mate? You're welcome. You're a trader I talk about a lot, actually. I think you're absolutely brilliant at playing the numbers games. If you think a trade's okay, you'll take it, and I respect that. Me, I'm a bit of a coward, and I try and go for those setup ones. But no, and I talk about, you ask these guys, I talk about, there's one specific trader who can play the numbers. If there's an 80% trade there, I tend to wait, but you'll play it because you don't seem to go on tilt. And credit where credit's due, mate. So you're a trader that I got a lot of respect for and a lot of time for because I think you're really good at it. So yeah, absolutely. Where are you, by the way? Are you? Please don't tell me. Can you tell us you're in a freezing cold country and it's raining? Don't tell us you're in a nice hot country because you'll just depress us all. Where are you, mate? Come on, make us all feel jealous. Oh, he still has videos, I think, doesn't he? You still have videos, bud. Sam hasn't had any videos lately. Oh, you're in Poland, are you? Okay. So I'm guessing, yeah, it's probably a bit chilly there, isn't it? It's getting cold in the UK. We've been having our heating on the last week, I think it just seemed to change. Short visit. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I finally had to give up the shorts last week. I've been living in shorts, flip-flops, and a t-shirt since about May, I think. But I popped out the shop the other day and everyone's in winter jackets and boots. I walked in a pair of flip-flops, so finally, I don't like giving up my shorts. Well, you have a nice holiday, bud. I'm actually looking forward to Christmas. I think last Christmas was the first year since I started trading that I actually took off the full kind of 9 days. And I got to say, it's amazing how refreshed you feel. I kind of just... Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? I kind of just keep working through it, but I will say there's a little bit of volatility here, isn't there? They've got no news or anything. Channel down, one attempt to go higher, second attempt to go higher. Oh, that's interesting. Channel down, 1-2 attempts. It's 15 ticks that. I'd rather go for a lower high there. But that may work, actually. See if we get a lower high. Be nice to get a failed second entry short here and trigger and then come down. So I'm going to get a short already just in case.
Order submitted.
So depending on how you look at this, it's a bigger channel which has got a touch, and a touch. Yeah, a few people are saying consider a lower high below the EMA, so it'd be nice for this to trigger now and then go down. So I'm guessing there'll be some liquidity above there. Let's see if it gets above there. It has. Okay, I'm just going to ditch that for a minute. So now, obviously, as we can see this, there could be multiple breaks. But that is the last channel. We've had a push up and 2 bounces at that lows. Don't trust the lot. No, me neither, mate, really. That one I think is okay. That one certainly is. So I agree. Let's get rid of that. That probably not. So I would say the most trustworthy one you've got here is that. You could say just that bit. We've had a break, but I think it's okay to do there. So is this going to go up? It could do. So we got a break here, and I think Thomas Wade would consider that a new low because we've made a matching low, and there is a higher low there. So this may continue on up. So let's have a look. So I've just been looking at that big red bearish candle on the daily, and I was kind of thinking it can't continue down like that without having a little bit of a pullback. So there's no reason down here. We've bounced off now. With this is the lowest we've been for a week, I think, at least. So Thomas Wade has still got this right to there. Now, it's certainly possible. It could be. But I don't want to assume it is. So I'm going to get rid of it on mine. ATR. Yeah, it's climbing up that ATR, isn't it? I'm getting ready to visit Scotland this fall. And your beautiful country in the spring. Good on you, mate. I hope the weather's nice for you. Scotland. I've only actually been up to Scotland once, to be honest with you. I went there and back in a day. But Sam's from Scotland. But as most of you guys know, I'm a big single malt fan. So I think next year we may do that. I think they call it the North 500 or the North Coast 500, where you drive around the north coast of Scotland. And you can visit all the distilleries there. So whether we hire like a minivan or something like that. My wife can drive and I can drink. So, I think I'll spend most of the time paralytic. I think stuck in the back with a bottle of whiskey. But yeah, I mean, you always take your own country for granted, don't you? Really. But the UK is lovely. It is beautiful. There's some stunning places in the UK. You know, if you get into certain parts of Yorkshire, there's little idyllic stone villages are incredible. The Cotswolds, places like that. There is some stunning places in the UK. But when you live there, I mean, I live in a town called Shrewsbury, where Charles Darwin was born. I can walk in Charles Darwin's classroom every day. It's now our library, and right over the road, literally a stone throws away, there's an 800-year-old castle. So, but I never go there because, you know, when you sort of, you know, when you live there, you tend to not bother so much. You know. But you have a nice break, my friend. I've never been to Poland, actually. I've travelled through a little bit of Europe. When I was 21, I went to work in Austria, and I took the train for London. I think I went to I can't remember where I went now. Was it London? I went from London, I think, to Dover and over to Ostend in Belgium, and then down through Luxembourg, Switzerland, and then on a train this was, and then you know through through Switzerland and all that, and to Austria. And if you want to do that, there's nothing nicer. It was like an old World War film. It was just fantastic mountains and snow and that. But there is some beautiful places out there for sure. I keep having that Greg Secker, the one with the super white Simon Cowell teeth. He keeps popping out from time to time. And he's always in the bloody Maldives with a bright red sunburnt face. I will say something, he doesn't give up, that guy. So channel down, 2 pushes up. Let's make 500 each. I'll see you in 5 for it. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. If you are at that area, let us know where you are. And if you do want to meet up, it'd be nice to meet up and have a couple of whiskies for sure. Yeah. In fact, I was chatting with Sam the other evening. I tend to have a chat with him sometimes on a Friday evening while I'm having a few scotch, and I said, me and you are going to have to sort of meet up at some point for a few. But yeah, that'd be really nice. That would. It'd be nice to put some sort of faces to names, wouldn't it? Great excuse to go up to Scotland and drink some scotch for sure, mate. Yeah, if you ever are going to be in that part of the world, give us a couple of weeks' notice, and it'd be nice to meet up. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. 500k each. I like your target, mate. I think I'll start with 5,000 for me. I think you've made a bit more than me. Is this thing going to continue down? It certainly could. The NQ. Well, didn't we have a really big? I think we're going back far enough here. I'm sure we had a big down in this. Oh, no, maybe not. Oh, we had that big push up, didn't we, before? So this thing could just keep on going down, couldn't it? Wow, it's a fair old drop in a morning, isn't it? This we've had the market. It's only been officially open, well, a couple of minutes less than an hour, and we're already down. Well, not just shy, a couple of points shy of 70 points within an hour. That's when you want to run a. Okay, so let's just have another look at this. See if there is something slightly. Something like this. It's a shame about that bottom bit, but trouble is, I hate these days when they just don't quite work right. See, that one wouldn't be too bad. In fact, you know something? I actually don't think that looks that bad. Did I have that? I might have had that before. A couple of legs up and a break and a new low. So I'm not a fan of the big. Fun enough, Zen's just put that on there as well. He's just put the same, literally within this minute. Mine's up here, so it's slightly different, that one. He's got his from there. I think I tried that, but something didn't sit right. Let me have a look. Yeah, it was the top of that stem, so he's got that like that. The bit that doesn't look right to me is this for some reason. Let's try how I add it. So if I had to put one, I think I would prefer that at the moment. There may be a slight overshoot there, which caused that big pullback and that. I don't know. So if that is a break and a new low, you wouldn't really want to be going short here, would you? But trouble is, to be effective doing this, you've got to kind of have these right. And if that is a break and a new low, going short with a second entry short here might not be the smartest move. Not only that, if we are working off this bottom, we're now nowhere near this. So I think I might need to just sit tight here and see if I can't find something better I like. Okay, so Thomas Wade has done the same as this other guy. So let's have a look at it. Trouble is, you've then got an overshoot. So maybe that overshoot has caused that. So let's put that back and just keep an eye on things and see where price goes. Touch close enough. A little bit of a push out there, but I'm not too worried about that. I like the way we come up here and bounced a couple of times, and here off that midline. So that actually makes a little bit more sense. So excuse me just a quick second. I'm just going to have a quick bathroom break. Okay. Okay. Mr. Pricey's just put the 10,000 tick chart on. That looks nice. So let's have a look at that. That's one thing I haven't looked at today. Let's drag this in. Okay, so hopefully, fingers crossed, yeah. Okay, this is 10,000 tick chart. This to me looks like it's continuing on down. So let's just put that. Where's it come from there? Doesn't look terrible. Ooh, look at that. Second entry short there. Look at the size of that bar. So if this is a channel, we've come down to here and pushed right up to the top. Well, we're coming further and further away from this, and that always makes me think about a break. The further it comes away from a channel, usually we'll have a break. We just may have a bigger correction, I don't know. But channel down, 2 legs up. Yeah, I think most people that I'm seeing now have got it's similar to mine. Thomas has, Taylor has as well. He's got that the same. Prices, that's the 10,000 tick chart, but I think it's showing the same thing. So I think most traders on his Discord are under the same feelings that we're still going down at the moment. So we'll see. There is a bearish bar there, but it's just didn't get the feeling there, to be honest with you. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Maybe this is a triple test. Not sure. Okay, so on the 10,000 tick chart, we are right at the top of this now. In fact, I could move that up a tiny bit more. So this is certainly an area where it could turn. We did there, went up, turn, came straight down. Same there, went up, turn, came straight down. So that's the 10,000 tick chart. So that certainly could come down. I'm emphasizing the word could. So a leg and a leg. So that's what we like to see. And that is more or less, in fact, not quite to the tick. But we're a tick off there, so a leg with a break and a leg. So if we can get a lower high down here somewhere below that amount, I prefer to just push above there and just to hit that measured leg perfectly, which it looks like we might be trying to do. Well, there's a little double top there. So channel break, new high, okay, and that's where I wanted to get, right to the top of this. So if we can get something bearish now, I like the way that's closed. If we can get something bearish now, I may look for the lower high. In fact, that trade may not be terrible. It's sitting in all the right places, and we have had a break on 2 pushes to a new high. So that would be more of an aggressive trade, as it's quite large. Not fully formed. I'm just going to sit tight. Likely be some stops below there. And certainly below there, I'd like to say. TR is a little high today, isn't it? 3.5. Double top, interesting. From that one, you could say that's a second end or a lower high. Dare I take that?
Order submitted.
I don't think it's a bad trade, actually. It's just massive. It is a bit congested, and it hasn't formed just quite as nice as I'd like. So is it going to work there? It's certainly struggling there, and that's the right place for it to struggle. So maybe we get a failure. Okay. Let's
Order
ditch that
cancelled.
now. I did mention those two there coming away. Whenever we come away from the bottom, often we make a break. I didn't think we would there. I didn't think we'd get anywhere near the top, but we have. So it's such a big move down. I'll be surprised if it just has a break and then drops straight back down. I'll be going an hour and a quarter. Excellent. See, I don't. It's a channel. I think it may not be too bad. I'm just going to sit tight here a minute. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Oh, okay. I'm just going to sit tight here a minute. I'm just going to take a quick break. 3 to 5 minutes. Just make a cup of tea. Let this sort itself out. I won't be going long here or short here just yet, so I won't be surprised if it's starting to stack up a little bit. So I'll be about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. So there is a lower high there, but that's risky, I think. May work, but I don't like that bounce. See if we get a failure here. I'd like that to trigger. If that stays bullish and triggers, we'll see. Trouble is, we could have a leg and a leg, and it may come up. That's these highs. There'll be liquidity above here and here, as we know. Probably going to drop like a stone in it. In fact, no. You could have that slightly different. There is a few traders with I don't think that looks terrible. So that's a possibility, I think. But for me at the moment, it's still a little bit above that EMA. Have a look. See if we get a breakout pullback. I'd like to push above there and trigger that. I don't think we're going to, are we? Man, there could be a little bit of a range here. Put a little breakout there and then something here. Sometimes when we have a breakout there, we have the opposite there. So we could have something like that. It's a bit hard to say. Well, it's a little bit lame, I think, at the moment. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just not that bad. Let's have a look. Same again. Channel. Pull back with that green bar. It wasn't as bullish as I'd liked. Like a couple of pushes up. Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about this bigger channel. It could work. There are a few traders with it there. Oh, the ATR's made easy for scalps. Yeah, it has. Trouble is, it's easy for bigger risks as well. I mean, I'm going for a flat 3 points now. Well, I keep saying I am. And the one time I decided to, which was the last trade I took the day before or yesterday, I ended up missing it by a tick. Just typical, isn't it? Yeah, most of the time I talked myself out of it and get out. The one time I talked myself in for the 3 points, it missed it by a tick. I think it was always going to happen. But that's okay. It's the way it is, isn't it? The trouble is, if you have a strategy like mine, whereas you go for a fixed 3 points based on your research, you have to stick to it. Otherwise, the numbers just don't work. And unfortunately, the one time I decided to stick with it, it missed it by a tick. It's how it works. If you've done your research and then the numbers work, you have to stick to it religiously. Otherwise, yours on the ATR? Yeah, some people do it on the ATR, don't they? So at the moment, it's, what is it, 3.5, isn't it? 3.5. We kind of like to see it around 2 points, don't we? So I tend to go for 2 points. So I don't know, maybe. How do you work it, bud? How do you go it based? Based on what it is now, what would be your risk? See, if it's a really good solid trade, I expect it to go for 3, 5, 6, 10 points or whatever. But obviously, it depends on the context, doesn't it? I mean, if we're in a strong downtrend and we get an absolute beauty of a correction and a lower high, you'd expect a trade like that to move quite a bit. We know by now, and Maxwell was telling us often, that's, the centre of the pattern, isn't it? So if you've had, X amount of points down and a nice correction, there's a good chance we might get something similar. And I think risk 4 points to make 4 points. Okay, yeah. So it's about 3.5 at the moment, thereabouts. So you actually look, so if you were trading there, you would measure the risk and then obviously move your profit accordingly, or you would just go for a flat 3.5-ish points based on what the ATR is currently. Because the trouble is, you don't know whether you're going to get a bigger bar, do you? Okay, so I'm hoping this. Now, you can send it wrong, low, high. You can look at this as one channel, or you can look at that as a channel with a break, 2 pushes to a new low, and this is coming up. Maybe. So I think I would prefer that, because we've pushed down, we've gone sideways, and we've gone down a bit. It's hard to say. Second entry short here, I don't think will be terrible. What's that NQ doing? So that channel looks nice on the NQ. Fits nice, so yeah, it is a failure at the moment. I don't like taking failures with a bullish bar. I'd much prefer a second entry short here, because we could go up one and then up again. Break that. So yeah, I mean, some may say that's the failure. I suppose technically it is, isn't it? But I tend to not go it on a bullish bar if I'm in a downtrend. 2, 3. I've got trapped in trades like this before. Down and across. Let's see how this finishes. Because this to me is like one leg up. Excuse me, just a second. Didn't trigger anyway. But I've been caught out on trades like that before, because that is a leg up. Sometimes it'll trigger you and make another leg up to here. And then drop. Yes, the ATRs are around about, let's say for argument's sake, 3.5 points. But as I say, if it's a good trade, if you're trading in sort of congestion in, with a 5 or 6 point from top to bottom, obviously the more points you go for, the sort of lesser the chance. But if that ends up really bearish, I wouldn't mind that. It's relatively bearish, but not enough, I don't think. I'm just wondering if anyone's got their channel like that. See if it tries to retest this. Does look like 2 legs up. See if we can get a lower high off here. It is a bit messy, this, isn't it? It seems to be more rangy for me. Well, we've come so far down, so I think there's a good chance we come further down, but it could. Could do a lot of things. Yeah. It's hard to say, yeah. Leg and a leg. See if we get a lower high. Leg down. If we get a lower high, that would take us down to the bottom. I don't think it's going to. I think it's just going to come careering down. That would take us down here. Let's get an order ready.
Order submitted.
There's going to be some stops here, there, and there, I think. It's a massive bar, isn't it?
Order submitted.
Have to go with it there, I think. Check it on the engulfing now. I've gone in a bit early, but that's okay. I actually don't think it's too bad. I am a little bit premature on it. I thought when it broke below there, it was going to drop. We'll see. As long as it breaks below there, that's all I'm worried about. I think it's going to... There'll be some stops down there, I dare say. So, leg and a leg, lower high, big bearish bar. I've saved myself a couple of ticks. I think that's okay. Leg and a leg. It may come down further, but I've set me 3 points. We're just got to go for it, me. I like the setup. I like the bar. A little bit more than I wanted to risk, but I think it's okay. Thomas Wade's in it as well. That makes me feel better. He's in the same trade. That one there. Well, he's got it a little bit back on a limit order, but stops in the same place anyway. I like the nice big bearish bar where it is. We've been up once, been up a second time, trapped a few longs there, but I think that's okay. I'll be surprised if that doesn't work. Sometimes it will pull back a little bit, but it's irrelevant really. We could still be down here in 10 minutes, so you've just got to get in and take it. I'm on a bit of a limit order, a couple of ticks back, a little bit more than I wanted to, but if I think the trade's okay, I think it's worth it. It is frustrating when it comes
Order
close,
filled.
but yeah, that works. Sometimes you've got to leave it. Now, I took a trade yesterday. Well, let's say the last 4 trades apart from yesterday I've taken, I've got out early. You're out. Good on you, mate. I've got out early, and they all went on to make. Now, I worked out in the last 2 trades I took, I was up $350. So that effectively buys you a loss token. And because I got out early, I decided yesterday to wait and go for the full 3 points, and it missed me by a tick. Now, if I'd have taken the 2 previous and taken that extra profit, that would have covered my loss for yesterday. So as tempting as it is sometimes to get out of these trades, if you set yourself for something for a reason, if you say, I'm going to go for X amount of points, I've worked the numbers out and it works, you have to stick to it. Now, you might say it's a bit rich here and that means take it. I'm good at giving myself advice, but not, I'm good at giving out advice, but not taking it myself. I was tempted to come down a little bit lower there, but I like the fact that we had 2 nice legs up, nice bearish lower high, so I think there's a good chance we come down there. But the trouble is, it's okay deciding to go for more points and holding longer, but that's the time when when your account's nice and large and you can afford to risk a couple of trades and go for a bigger move, because a move like that, if you can get that second leg down, I only got 3 points, but if you can get down there, you can get nearly 3 times that. I certainly think you could, I certainly think it'll break the bottoms, but you might think, 3 points, I could get 3 times that here. But while I'm building these accounts, I don't want to get a little bit too cheeky. I'd rather just get in and out, but I did what I was supposed to, got in there, out for 3 points, and it comfortably went for that and some. So I would say second entry short there, 2 legs up, lower high, everything's screaming this is coming down there, so let's go for it's plus 3 pointers. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, mate. Nice when something works, isn't it? Makes you feel nice and smiley, doesn't it, when it works? But if I was going to take this for that second leg, I'd have my order around about that bottom there, maybe a tick off that bottom. And it's made it there. So a leg down, a nice correction. It was a clear correction and a lower high. Just think potentially, where did I get in there? In fact, I had a couple of ticks back. So let's say if I put mine there, there's 8 points. Now there's a higher low there. So what you can do sometimes, what I used to do is put it there and hold me stop in. As soon as it broke below there, I'd hold me stop. And if it does happen to push down some more, you could get a bonus there. But if you put that at the low of the day there and put that your profit, I got 11 points there as opposed to 3. So I've gained myself 8 points there. So I've gained myself theoretically 2.5 loss tokens. That's kind of how I look at it. So I've got a little bit extra in the bank to cover my next couple of losses. So by doing that extra, but I think there's a time and a place to do that. And while I'm building these accounts, this isn't it. If I had $10,000 in each account, then holding on to that might not be a bad idea. But I like the idea there. If you get something a bit extra, so I used to go for 2 points. So if I go for 3 now, every trade I win, I make an extra point. So if I have a little bit of paper and I just jot down 1.2 point, every time I win 3 trades, I've paid for a loss, if you know what I mean, as opposed to going for the 2 points. And I kind of like that. If you take a loss, you've got a bit money to cover it. You've got extra 3 points or 5 points. I wish more people would do that. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? But I used to go for 2 points. I think more people go for 2 points than any other number, but that extra point as an extra point towards your next loss. So it just covers your expenses. Helps me cover my dumbass trades. Yeah, you're not your own there, mate. I make my fair share of those, but it's just a psychological way of paying for the injury, if you like, isn't it? But I remember Nick Sesto said to me maybe a year ago, look at your trades as a business expense. So if you've got a company and you've got to, fork out $1,000 or, I don't know how much they are over there for a new clutch for your car, you don't think, oh my God, I've got to try and make that money back, do you? You pay for it. It's just an expense, isn't it? So if you're, Thomas Wade's in a runner here, so it's kind of a business expense really, isn't it? He's done okay on C. He's made some big money on runners. He has. Well, I say big money. He's I think about a month ago, he had about a 47-point runner. I think the only thing that frustrates me about Thomas is a lot of the times he let it come down here 8 points, come back and take him out, but he does seem to be taking some profits, because there's nothing worse than having your runner come down 8-10 points and come back and stop you out. But he does seem to be doing what I think is probably the best way there, is following each swing down. The risk to reward was against you. You need a win rate of beyond 75% success. Yeah, that bar was a little bit bigger than normal, I would say. But I would expect a trade like that to work 9.5 times out of 10, maybe even more. But yeah, I mean, the ATR is a bit high today, isn't it? Usually the ATR is around 2 to 2.5, which I think is a nice number. But I know what you mean. I try and do it over the average. Sometimes you'll risk 2 points, sometimes you'll risk 3.5, 4. But if I'm making still 3 points on a 2-point risk and 3 points on a 4-point risk, my average risk is 3 points, which is 1-to-1. If you know what I mean. What was my risk there? Was it about 425? It was a bit. I actually shaved a couple of ticks off it, but I will avoid some trades purely because the size of them. But if it's an absolute beautiful trade, so I got in there. It was there, I think. So, and a tick above. So yeah, it was 4.25 points. I see Max still scalps for a point. Now, granted, he'd have made a runner there. But it's a bit bigger than the norm that is at the moment. And I think the reason that's probably gone down a little bit bigger, because I think it was a nice move down there. So, and yeah, if I got $10,000 in each of my accounts and I could afford to, when that pushes down, maybe put that to break even and have a risk-free trade. I think, something like that, with the context being the way it is probably a good way to make some extra money there. So I got in about there. So if I've got that swing now, if I'm down to that swing, I'm up the equivalent of 4 winning trades. So let's say you put 2 aside for your next 2 losses and you've made an extra couple there. You could squeeze a bit more out of that. You could comfortably get 15 points out of that without being too quick about it. And there's 5 winning trades there, 5 lots of profit, 3 extra points, 3 extra trades, and a couple of extra trades to cover your losses. And ain't finished yet. It could come down a bit more. Let's have a look on that daily. So, and I think getting 3 points on a win as well is quite nice. It's a significant amount of money, I think. Going back 2.5 years ago, I'd have taken $100 on that trade, scalping for a point. And the trouble is, when you get a big bar like that and you're risking 4 to make one, it's heartbreaking when you clear off 3 or 4 winning trades. But as I say, once these accounts grow a little bit and I've got a little bit of room to breathe, then you don't mind holding on for what you believe is I like that. We got a leg down there. That to me was a nice correction. 1 leg up, 2 legs up. There was a failed second entry short because there'd have probably been some buyers there and we had a nice bearish bar. But if I got, a nice bit of cash in there, that leg down, I'd expect to make that leg. And it did that and some, so it's just not the time at the moment. As your experience grows, and not only that, your confidence as well. Your confidence to sort of, I think going for 3 points will help you be patient for 8. Yes, absolutely. So the way I see this, Darryl, is if you ask me what is the ideal amount to profit on a month, let's say for instance you got 10 Apex PA accounts, excuse me, and if you say make about $2,000 per account, which is kind of the most you can withdraw for the 3 months, over 10 accounts, that's a potential earnings of $20,000. So that works out at around about $500 per week per account. So the way I see it is all I've got to do is wait for 2 glorious setups in a week. And there's no reason why I can't have a 90% win rate. And all I've got to kind of do is find 2 a week. Now, I tend to try and avoid having monetary targets because that sometimes when you have targets, you may squeeze a trade a little bit and make a mistake. So I tend to go, what would be the ideal position for me to be in where I would be really happy? And that's it. So 2 winning trades, that gives you an extra 100 per week. So every 3 weeks, effectively, you can have a loss if you take 2, 4, 6 trades in a week. Sorry, 6 trades over 3 weeks. Let's say 8 trades over 4 weeks. And if you lose the 9th, that will still make you $2,000. And that is having a win rate of, 8 wins and 1 loss. So let's say 90%, less than 90%. Had 9 winners in a row, 2 weeks. Yeah, it's if you're really patient, you can do that. About a month and a half, 2 or 3 months ago, I had 14 winning trades in a row. And I end up taking something silly and risky. And then the trouble is sometimes the longer you go without a loss, the more disappointing it is when you take one. But I've realised I've got a bit of a weakness is when I take a loss. So I have kind of a plan. Next time I take a loss, I'm going to wait for an A++, A star plus trade because I think after you take a loss, it's more important than ever for you to have a nice win then because that gives you a lift. It's strange, really. You win 14 in a row and lose one, you feel like a bloody failure. You know what I mean? When you're not. But it's just that psychological thing. But I have found, like yesterday, I waited for a perfect setup yesterday. I took a nice setup. Did I take a win yesterday? I take a loss tonight. I waited for a trade yesterday, a nice setup. I thought it was a good setup at the time. I get there may be a few little reasons why it might not have worked. I accept that. But because I believed it to be a good trade, it doesn't psychologically, unstable me. But it's when I feel sometimes my patience is getting the better of me. And we all know when we get in a trade that we think this is risky and I probably should believe in it. When I take those are the ones that give me a little psychological nudge. And that can sometimes send me on a bit of a few losses in a row. But I think it's important to prepare for when you have that's assuming you have a bit of a problem with it. And then maybe take an extra day off or have a day maybe where you just look at the charts and not take a trade. But I think it's important that if you take a loss and it does affect you, that it's more important than ever to get straight back on the saddle and wait for another winner, because I think it lifts you straight up. But if you have a second loss, that can knock you for a few days. That can. True, is in my head. Yeah, we all like having green days or 0 days on a Friday, because there's nothing that, excuse my languages, but fucks your weekend up more than a loss on a Friday. So it's weird we have this little psychological barrier, don't we? We know all the answers. It's just that little voice inside you that starts shaking at the knees tends to sort of suck you into that sort of dark alley and messes you around a bit. But it definitely gets better. It gets less and less. I can tell you that. I can feel that. You guys know that anyway. You know how you were trading a year ago and then 2 years ago and so on. You get better and better. Now, I took that winning trade and I was nice and calm and I carried on. Now, if you look back at some of my old videos, you can hear the excitement in my voice and relief. And I kind of I try and just be pleased with it and then forget it and move on and then, get back to, because, we've all heard them say that wins sometimes can be quite detrimental because you get a bit overconfident. I don't think I do. I tend to not take another trade if I take a win, which I think is not a bad. It's not bad. I'm really happy going home with $300 over me 3 accounts. So I don't feel that urgency to jump straight back into another trade. I think quite a few times. It was quite clear that it is a little congested, but it is readable. Especially if you open up a bit, you can clearly see 2 legs up. And then a lower high, and I like the fact that there's a fail second entry short there. So I go like once, I go twice, which finished nice there. So there'd have probably been some longs trading that, depending on how you're seeing this. But then when we get that triggering the longs, then coming down, for me that was coming down here. I thought straight away I'd have sort of. I had a fair bet that was going to make 2 legs, and it didn't disappoint, did it? What time are we? 2 hours. I might finish a little bit early today. I've got my desk looking at me. I bought a new one of those flexi spot desks. If anybody's ever had one, it's the E5. It's the sit-stand desk. I've put the frame together, and it's absolutely solid. And you always know, usually, when you bought something of quality, when it takes 2 people to move it, it's got a big, thick, inch-thick, solid desktop on it as well. But my old desk here, I've had about 4 years, which cost me about £75. It's got a big bow in it. So I've treated myself. No, I don't, but at the moment, I've just got 3. And 3 PAs and a My Funded Futures PA. But I've traded that My Funded Futures. You can see it there. That one there, 925. I'm trying to swing trade that, and at the last 4 days, I've missed 2. I think. I'm trying to swing this, so I tend to work out what's happened in the day and where price is likely to go. And often what I found is when the market opens, it gives you a little teaser of a bearish bar and then turns and vice versa. So I'm just trying to have a go with that and set a big move and then leave it for the night and let it set. But I seem to have having a reasonable success with that. But it's so I think the most I've done in a day is $1,050. But I have that 40% rule, so I don't really want to make any more than that today. So yeah, just the 3, the 3 PAs, and that. I did have, I had 20 at one point, but I think I've just realised that extra pressure it doesn't make me operate at my best, and I think 3 to 5 accounts is a better number for me. 3 is a better number. So my plan is when I take a payment at any or all of those 3 accounts, then I'm going to add 1 or 2. But I seen Wilson going up to 20, and I tried to sort of run before I can walk, and he's lost about 5 lots of 20. Not only is it heartbreaking, it's flipping expensive. So I kind of like the 3 number at the moment. I do. I'm not really feeling any pressure as such. It's not making me fearful of getting into a trade. So I think it's trying to find that sort of comfort zone. But yeah, it is nothing worse on a Friday taking a loss. But what I try to do now, and I think it works for me, when I take a loss, I go away and I try to turn it into that ATR's drop quickly, and try to turn it into a positive. Because part of your job as a trader, learning to trade, is being able to accept losses. And there's nothing bad about them. We just tend to perceive it as failure, losses as failure, when it's not really. So I go downstairs. I might have a couple of whiskies, so that probably helps. But I try and have a couple of whiskies, couple of doubles, just so I relax a bit, and then think positively and think, okay, that's fine, I'll learn from it. And it works. So it's just trying to find something that helps you sort of deal with it a bit, really. Bitcoin is so slow. Can't believe there are Christmas trees up in some shops now. Selling them, not decorated. My 16-year-old daughter's getting me to watch Christmas movies. I can't believe there's boxes of Quality Street and all that in every shop now. It's crazy, really. My daughter informed me earlier that as soon as Halloween's finished, we're putting the Christmas decorations up. So when you're living with 2 women, I tend to just nod and agree. I think the issue is compounded very heavily because you learn to go for 4 ticks but lose 16. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many different things and ways and methods of trading, and you know, when I hear some people trade and how they talk about trading, I'm thinking this seems so much more simpler. It is actually simple in a way. The PATS is very straightforward. There's not a hell of a lot to it. Now, that doesn't necessarily make it any easier. You know, you've still got to take the right context. But really, the only indicator we use is as we know, the EMA, and the rest are just a series of trend channels and range channels, and that's it. So there's very little, really, very little to the strategy. But obviously, you know, it's having that patience to sort of sit through a certain amount of this crap and then come in just at the right time, which obviously takes the time. But some people, I don't know, there's so many different indicators on some people's charts, and if it does this, it does that. So I kind of like how we do things here. One chart, and that's it. It's a lot less stressful way of trading, I think. The more you got on the chart, you know, the more stressful it is. Does anyone know how long you have before resetting a funded account? No, I'm not sure, but I know it's not cheap, is it? I think it's about $400, isn't it? And if you think about it, if you take an evaluation out now, it's $76, and that includes the fee to the PA. So you can take about 5 of those for the price. So, and not only that, when you set a funded account, it obviously resets it back to 0. So I'd be inclined, really, instead of doing that, to go for 5. Yeah, $450. So what is it? Say $76. So it's $300 for 2. Sorry, $300 for 4. So that's six new My Fund of Futures accounts, and I don't know if anybody's aware, but the $76 you pay, that's it. That includes your PA fee if you pass it. So yeah, it's a lot of money, $450. I once paid $500 about 2.5 years ago, maybe a little bit more, $500 to reset a PA account, which was, I think it was, was it UFund? I can't remember what the company's called. Funds for You, UFund, UProfit. I paid $499 to reset her. And I think that was the first ever account I had, first ever prop account I had, which obviously I lost twice. I can't believe I paid $500 just to do that. Trouble is, when you haven't been doing it long, you think it's not going to take you as long as, you think as soon as you get your first PA account, you're going to make a fortune. I don't realise you're probably going to blow a couple. Well, I think I'm on, at the moment, my PAs are counting, I think it is 98, 100 and 101. So, 90, 97, 98 accounts I've blown, PA accounts. So, let me just look at this. It's hard to say there. The new accounts are 120, but if you have 20% off, no consistency on the funded account, 120. You're thinking of the expert accounts, aren't you? You just have a look. You're thinking of the expert accounts, I think, unless they've changed. Okay, starter. No, still 80. Oh, well, it depends what you go for. Starter and Start Plus. Okay. Right, okay, I've not seen Starter Plus. So starter, 3K you got to make, 3 contracts, 1,200 loss, max drawdown. Okay, end of day. That's pretty standard, isn't it? So Starter Plus, where's the difference? Let's have a flick through again. So, excuse me a sec. So Starter Plus, no daily loss limit, max drawdown $2,000 in a day. What would you go for that? So still $3,000, 3 contracts. Daily loss limit is 1,200 on a starter. There's no daily loss limit. Your drawdown's 2.5 on the starter, only 2 there. So the only difference is the daily loss. So I wouldn't pay an extra $40. To lose more than 1,200 in a day, I'd say is pretty harsh going. So I like the fact that if I do lose 1,200 a day, at least I've got tomorrow. So if you take the discount off that, takes down at 76. And the expert, that makes no sense whatsoever. You've got a higher profit target, less of a drawdown, and it costs. Yeah, it's quite expensive. That it doesn't make much sense to me there. Starter Plus one. I think I went on it, didn't I? Starter Plus. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, you've done the comment before. Yeah, I don't see the point in that one, in all honesty, bud. Purely and simply because you've got no daily loss limit. Well, I don't see a problem with the 1,200 one, and you've got $500 less drawdown, and it costs an extra $40. So it just doesn't make much sense, that one. Well, to me personally, but obviously, we're all different. But I kind of like the 1,200 daily loss limit, because at least then you've got, if you lose more than 1,200, you're probably going to blow the account, I'd say. So I like the fact that they step in and say, come back tomorrow. So it's not too bad, that. So I'm not doing anything here, to be honest with you. So have a look. So we got that big push down and a break. maybe a bit of sideways, but with a downward. So I don't know what's going on here at the moment. I really like that the more I look at it. So, in fact, what time is it now? I've been going just over 2 hours. See, I'm going to knock on the head there because I want to go and put my desk up, change everything over. And I'm up a nice $300 per account for the day. So a nice $900 and $900 on my funded future. So I've kind of had a nice day today. So I want to kind of end it. I want to kind of end it now, actually. So I've been going 2 hours anyway. So good day for me today. Nice and patient. Really bearish day so far. Where it goes from now, who knows? But nice day today. So nice place to end it for me. So I hope you've had a good day yourselves. I think a few of you took that one. And that turned out nice. But it's not been a bad trading day today. There may have been one or two others. But it's not been a terrible day today. So I kind of like that one. In fact, I jumped in there, but it didn't get me. Second, I think I did anyway. It's a failure. Or whatever it is. But I like that. And I think I jumped in, but it was a bit late then. It never came back. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. So, look, best of luck. I hope you get a setup. But, yeah, not a bad day at all today. So, have a good the rest of the day and have a great evening. I'm going to be like a kid in a toy shop now, put my desk up. So, have a great evening. Stay safe. And I'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday. So, happy 1st of October as well. So, I'll leave you to it. Have a great evening and I'll be back tomorrow morning. Bye for now.